Hey, this is Anya here at the kitchen table at ourgabledhome.com. And today I want to talk to you about sourdough starter. If you don't really like the idea of having to take care of your sourdough with daily feedings, and if this idea of throwing out your sourdough starter every day, creating these discards, is something that you don't like, this video is for you. I have an older video that I've done a long time ago, which is not one of my proudest moments, so don't go look at it, in which I taught you how to make your own sourdough starter. Now, who am I talking to you about sourdough starter? Well, I basically grew up seeing my mom make sourdough bread, and my mom learned it from my grandmother, and my grandmother learned it from her great-grandmother, and I don't know how many generations it goes back, but it does go back a long time. And when my mom was making sourdough bread, that was maybe once a week, however fast we went through the sourdough. And we never had any daily feedings, we never had any discards, and you may know if you've been following me that I grew up in Germany, and then I came to this country and everybody is doing feedings. They're keeping their sourdough starter on their countertop and they are talking about discards. So I researched it, and there is a lot of reasons for that method. And if you're somebody who bakes with sourdough every single day, that method may just be fantastic for you and may be great. But if you're somebody who bakes once a week or maybe once every 2 weeks, what are you doing with your sourdough starter in between? So this is my method that I learned from my family, that has been in my family for generation, and that produces a fabulous sourdough baked product. Now here you can see that I have actually 2 starters, and no, I have not named them yet. I think if I would call one Bubbles. But anyways, I haven't named my sourdough starter. This is one that I actually made in the video that I made some time ago that I'm asking you not to look at. And this is my whole grain sourdough starter. And I make a European style, German style, very heavy, dense bread with it. And this is the starter that I made. It's the same starter. And then I have you can't really tell from the jar here, but I have them in 2 different jars so I know which one is which. I could label them, but that would be too simple. Anyways, and then I have this one, which is a white sourdough starter, which I make my more artisan style white or a lighter sourdough bread with, that my family actually likes a little bit better than the denser. I like the European style bread. So there's something for everybody. So I have 2 sourdough starters. And here's my method. It is so simple. Once you have your starter and you are at that point where you would keep it on the counter, I basically just leave about maybe a golf ball size of starter in my jar, or it could be a little bit more. It's not super exact. And then I simply add a whole lot of flour to it. I'm simply using a spoon or a fork and mash it all up until it's very dry, and it doesn't matter if you have more flour in it than you need, because as you can see here, I actually have flour sitting on top. And I've done the same with my whole grain starter. You can see here that I'm using white flour for the whole grain starter because I just have it there and I grind my own grains, and I usually don't remember to keep some whole grain flour for patting the starter down. So once I've done that, I just put the lid back on and put the starter in my refrigerator. How long can I keep it in there? I have kept it for as long as 6 weeks, which is a little bit long, but anywhere from 1 week, 2 weeks is absolutely perfect. And I don't do daily feedings. I don't do discards with this method. Sometimes I use my sourdough starter for something else, making pasta, and then I switch up my method a little bit, but this is what's really worked well. So now, how do you continue from there if you actually do want to bake something? Now, we all know that sourdough is something that you typically don't just get and do. This is what baking powder does, or yeast gives you a faster result. Sourdough is something that you need to plan a little bit ahead. So with this method, you plan just a little bit further ahead. And if you want to bake bread, let's say on Wednesday, I simply take out my sourdough starter Tuesday night and I add some water to it and mix it up. Because I have a lot of flour sitting on top, that basically feeds the sourdough starter, and with the water on top, we make it more active again. And I stir it up to the point where it's probably lumpy, but you can see it's incorporated. And I just let that sit overnight. And typically it's ready the next day. Sometimes if I want my sourdough starter to be even more active and more bubbly, I will actually do what most people do and pour some off, create a discard, add some flour and some water, same ratio, and let that sit another day. Then it's really super active and bubbly, but you don't have to do that. And like I said, for decades, I have never thrown anything out. I've never had a discard. So once you do that, you just simply use your sourdough starter. Often it's about a cup or so that is used for a recipe. You add it in there, and either you have some left in the jar that, again, you use some flour and thicken it up to the point where it's really dry. You add some extra flour on top, put the lid on, and put it back in the refrigerator. If you didn't have anything left, if you used up your whole starter, what you can also do is let your bread rise, and before you put it in the loaf pan or in your Dutch oven or whatever vessel you're baking your sourdough in, or whatever you're doing with your sourdough, you simply take a little bit off, because that's very active, and put that into your jar. Again, use the flour method. Put the flour on top, mix it up, make it really dry and dense, add a bunch of flour on top, lid on top, and then it goes into the refrigerator. So you see, it's really easy, it's super simple, it's perfect if you don't want to do something with it every day, or let's say you're traveling, you're having any other reason why you're not baking or using your sourdough starter on a daily, or let's say every other day basis. So this is perfect. If you have any questions about this, please let me in the comments below. I'd be happy to answer those, because this may be completely new to you and you may be wondering, well, how do we do this and how do we do that? So let me know what questions you have. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you're new here on my channel, please hit the subscribe button. I upload a new video every week. You can also turn on the bell notifications. Thank you so much for watching, joining me here at my kitchen table. See you next time.